So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a short span of time. Now, needless to say this, I say this every time, but I am not scared of repeating it again and again in every lecture. Revise this lecture from the notes provided by us, because if you're just watching this lecture, well, these current affairs would skip your mind in no time. If you want to remember them till your examination, revise this lecture from the notes provided by us. Now, these notes are shared on our Telegram channel, and the link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section just below this video. All right? Okay then. Enough of the introduction. Let's straight away jump into the lecture. Let's begin. So, Daily Current Affairs, 20th October, Monday. So, we'll be covering yesterday's current affairs. And here is the list of topics that we shall cover today. So, topics to be covered. As you know, it's almost winter time in North India. And during winters, pollution is a big challenge in areas around Delhi. Okay, so to tackle that, well, there is a graded response action plan and it is in force right now. Now, what is this graded response action plan, GRAP? We'll talk about this. Then, well, most of the pollution in North India is accentuated because of firecrackers during Diwali season. Now, well, we have innovated because people are going to burst crackers. Therefore, we are now suggesting them an alternative to burst green crackers. Now, what is the science behind these green crackers? We'll talk about this. Then we'll talk about CHASE-2, okay, a scientific instrument aboard Chandrayaan-2 mission, which has recently given certain measurements about lunar atmosphere, okay. So we will talk about CHASE-2 and Chandrayaan-2. And in the end, we'll talk about International Maritime Organization. There was some news, some bad news with respect to International Maritime Organization, okay. And that bad news was because of American pressure, US pressure. Okay, so we'll talk about these four topics. Topic number one is related to environment portion of your UPSC syllabus. Topic number two is again related to environment and science and technology, because we are going to investigate the science behind green crackers of your UPSC syllabus. Then topic number three is again science and technology portion of your UPSC syllabus. And topic number four is international relations portion of your UPSC syllabus. So everything about your UPSC syllabus is being covered today, okay? So these are the four topics. Let's start discussing them one by one, starting with topic number one, and that is graded response action plan. Now, for so many years, well, Delhi and the surrounding regions, surrounding states are suffering from very bad air quality, okay? And this bad air quality is all right. I mean, the air quality is not that bad during monsoon months because of the rain. But this air quality becomes severely bad during winter months. Now, the usual suspects or the usual reasons are, well, straw burning in the nearby agricultural fields. Plus, Diwali season, it's because of bursting of crackers. Well, this air pollution problem accentuates. Plus, there is no wind also that is blowing at fast pace to clear these pollutants. Okay, so these natural environmental factors plus artificial human related factors, well, create this problem of bad air quality. Now in 2017, well, the government came out with graded response action plan. As per this graded response action plan, based on the air quality level, the government will take certain steps to basically certain remedial steps to solve this problem of air quality. Okay, so if air quality is poor, some normal steps would be taken. Okay, if air quality is very poor, then more steps would be taken. If air quality is severe, then more steps would be taken. Okay, strong steps. And if air quality is extremely severe, then very strong actions would be taken. So based on your air quality level, your actions are dependent. Okay, that is why it is called graded action plan. Your actions or the severity of your actions to tackle air pollution is based on air quality. Okay, if air quality is normal, no action. Poor, hard actions. Very poor, harder actions. And with increasingly bad air quality, actions become harder and harder. Okay, that is why it is called graded action. Okay, makes sense? Now, let's talk a few details about this graded action, response action plan. Okay, certain details, who launched it, what are the facts you need to be familiar with. Okay, and what are these grades, graded action. We'll talk about all these things. Okay, so let's straight away jump into this. So graded response action plan particularly launched for Delhi NCR region, National Capital Region, okay, and the surrounding areas. Okay, now What was in the news? So this graded response action plan is in full swing now. It has been initiated. So the Commission for Air Quality Management, CAQM, has invoked stage 2 of GRAP. We'll talk about this. What is stage 1, stage 2? Across Delhi NCR, as the city's air quality slipped into very poor category, with AQI, air quality index, crossing 300 mark. Because the air quality index has crossed 300 mark, well, grade 2 has been launched. Grade 2 level of actions have been launched. Okay. The move came after the subcommittee on GRAP on Saturday reviewed the worsening pollution levels. Okay. Now, what is GRAP? So it is a statutory framework. That means it is enshrined in a law. It is a statutory framework that specifies stage-wise measures to be implemented to combat deteriorating air quality in NCR, National Capital Region. Okay, but the actions would be, remedial actions would be stage-wise. Okay, poor, stage 1, very poor, stage 2, severe, stage 3, severe plus stage 4. Okay. Now, this was introduced in 2017 based on Supreme Court's directives. Okay, in 2017, Supreme Court intervened. And on what basis did Supreme Court intervene? Well, Supreme Court says that right to clean environment is a fundamental right guaranteed under Article 21, which is right to life. So, right to clean environment is part of right to life, which is covered under Article 21, which is, well, a fundamental right guaranteed to all citizens. So based on that, Supreme Court intervened in 2017 and gave certain directives. Based on those directives, GRAP was launched under Environmental Protection Act 1986. Okay? Because it was launched under Environmental Protection Act 1986, that is why we say it is a statutory framework. Because it is backed by a law of Parliament. Which law? Environment Protection Act. Now this GRAP was revised by Commission for Air Quality Management in December 2024 to include predictive action based on IMD and IITM forecast. Look, before 2024, what was the situation? You have to understand this point. It is very important. Okay, this word predictive is very important. Before 2024, when the air quality used to worsen, then the action would be taken. Okay, so it was more reactive. Okay, when the air quality is bad, then the action would be taken, right? But after 2024, well, the government says that we will look into the data released by Indian Meteorological Department and Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. Okay, these institutes will make predictions. So currently air quality is not bad, but IMD says that air quality will become bad in 3-4 days. So you take the action beforehand. You understand? Earlier it was reactive. When the air quality worsened, then the action was taken. Now, based on the prediction that air quality will be bad in future, you are taking action now. So it is more predictive rather than reactive. That happened after 2024. Make sense? So this entire GRAP system is dynamic in nature. Actions are activated dynamically based on real-time air quality index data by Indian Meteorological Department and Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology forecast. So earlier, after the air quality worsened, then the action would have been taken. Now we are taking action beforehand, ex ante, based on the forecasts of these scientific institutes. So remember this distinction. It is very important. Not reactive anymore, it is predictive. Okay, it is preventive. Look, it is preventive rather than reactive. Plus, under GRAP, well, all agencies which are responsible for tackling pollution are involved. It is a coordinated response. CAQM is involved, Central Pollution Control Board is involved, State Pollution Control Board is involved. Okay, then police is involved, traffic police is involved for vehicular emissions. So all governmental agencies come together to implement this GRAP. So it follows a coordinated approach. Make sense? Some more details are also given in your notes. So do go through that as well. Okay. By the way, let me tell you about graded response action plan. So the lowest grade is grade 1, stage 1, which is when air quality is poor. AQI is between 200 to 300. Then when it crosses 300, it is very poor. Stage 2 is activated. Now, what are the examples of stage 2? What happens during stage 2? It is given in your notes. Okay. Odd even scheme is basically enforced in Delhi, or vehicular emissions, fuel standards, all these mechanized road cleaning, all these actions are taking place. Okay, then severe for 400 to 450, and when the air pollution level or AQI crosses 450, well, then stage 4 is activated. Okay, this is what graded response action plan is. I hope you understood this. Okay, and now let's quickly move on to another topic which is related to air pollution, and that is green crackers. Okay, now look, for many years, well, the governments, environmental activists, everyone has tried to persuade people to burst less crackers. But this persuasive approach has not worked out well. People are still bursting crackers, okay? And basically the people's logic is also quite convincing. It might not be convincing to environmentalists, okay? But they are saying that it's just once every year that we want to celebrate, and we celebrate using crackers, okay? So we are not harming air quality 365 days of the year. They say it's just one day of the year. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Some of you don't consider this argument to be convincing. Some of you consider this argument to be convincing. Well, we are not getting into this debate. The thing is that government realized that despite our persuasive approach, this is not going to stop. People are still going to burst crackers. So let's give them an alternative. Let's give them those crackers which won't cause that much air pollution. And that led to innovation from various scientific institutes of the government to create these green crackers. These green crackers basically reduce the amount of, well, air pollutants released during the bursting of crackers. Okay, soot is released, black carbon is released, all these things are released, right? That would be reduced. So air quality won't be as bad as it used to be when we used to burst normal crackers. So government is now promoting usage of green crackers. Okay, now how successful has the government been? Well, the data is still not out. Okay, let's see what happens, but let's understand the science behind green crackers. Okay, all right then. So green crackers. So what was in the news? First, let's talk about this. Okay, so these green crackers were developed by Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR. This is a government body which basically regulates many scientific labs all over the country properly. Okay, it regulates all these labs. These labs are affiliated to CSIR. So one such lab that was affiliated, or scientific organization that was affiliated to CSIR, Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, is National Environmental Engineering Research Institute. So CSIR NERI. Okay, so this is the scientific organization and it is affiliated to this council. Remember this, okay? So they developed green crackers, okay, 7 years back. 7 years after their launch, it is worth looking back to understand how far this innovation has come and how green it truly is. Clear? Now let's talk about its greenness. Okay, let's understand the science behind this. Now look, most of these normal crackers, I'm not talking about green crackers, normal crackers contain certain toxic chemicals which are important for causing explosion. You all know that crackers burst, they explode. Now the chemicals that are put into these crackers to make them explode are very toxic and they cause air pollution. Some of the examples are, well, potassium nitrate, some of the examples are barium nitrate, okay? Barium nitrate was one such chemical that was used and it is extremely toxic. Well, in green crackers, we use alternatives. What are those alternatives? Potassium nitrate, strontium salt, zeolite, iron oxide. These also cause explosion, but they are not toxic in nature. Plus, they have other advantages as well. We'll talk about those, okay? These additives help capture soot. So potassium nitrate, especially zeolite, okay? When black carbon particles and soot is released in the air, well, zeolite actually absorbs it from the air, okay? So air is not polluted with these black carbon particles. So these additives help capture soot, reduce metallic residues such as aluminium and copper emissions. So aluminium and copper particles are also released, which are toxic when inhaled. So this zeolite, potassium nitrate, iron oxide, they absorb this. Now their chemical composition, I'm talking about green crackers, enables controlled oxidation, reduced combustion temperature. So it produces light, enough light and enough sound, but well, it releases 30 to 40% lower particulate matter 2.5, small particles which can be inhaled. 30 to 40% lower sulfur oxides, 30 to 40% lower nitrous oxides. So less air pollution, 30 to 40% less air pollution because of these alternatives that are used instead of barium nitrate. Okay, compounds like zeolite, which is used as a substitute of barium nitrate, acts as absorbents for dust and gaseous byproducts, limiting pollutant release. Clear? Now, some of the key features of these green crackers are, well, first you need to know they were created by CSIR's NEERI Institute. Plus, not all crackers can be, so what can these shopkeepers do? They will make normal crackers and then put the label green on them and then sell it. No. If you are selling a cracker as a green cracker, it needs to be certified. Now, that certification framework was created by CSIR NEERI. So, all green crackers need to be certified if you are selling them under the label of green crackers. Okay. CSIR NEERI certification system with a QR code. So, no one can fool you also. You can scan the QR code on the cracker and check whether it's actually green or not. So, this was given. This is important for environmentally conscious people who want to burst crackers but don't want to cause pollution. So, this is given. Then it also contains certain things. SWAS, safe water releaser, is in there. The water actually basically reduces the pollutants. Safe thermite cracker. There are different variants of these green crackers. So one is SWAS cracker, star cracker, Shuffle cracker. Okay, safe minimal aluminum crackers. They reduce harmful metal oxides and heavy metal toxicity. Plus some more features about these green crackers. They are given in your notes. Very easy to understand. Just read that. Okay, and now let's quickly shift on to topic number 3, and that is again related to science and technology but not environment, and that is Chase 2 in Chandrayaan 2. Okay, Chandrayaan 2, Chase 2 was basically in Chandrayaan 2, but Chandrayaan 2 was not successful. Okay, but the orbiter was. So this Chase 2 scientific payload was put on Chandrayaan mission, the latest one, and it has given us some readings. Okay, so our focus won't be on Chandrayaan 2, its failure, or Chandrayaan 3, nothing. Our focus would be on Chase 2, this scientific payload, this scientific machine that basically studies the thin atmosphere of Moon. Okay, so let's quickly talk about this. Okay, so Chase 2 on Chandrayaan 2. So what was in the news? So the lunar orbiter, remember Chandrayaan 2 mission was a failure, but not its orbiter, its lander named Vikram, that was a failure. So lunar orbiter of India's second moon mission, Chandrayaan 2, has made the first ever observation of the effects of sun's coronal mass ejection, solar flares, basically sun, the highly charged particles that are emitted from the sun on moon. Now the full form of Chase is Chandra's, based on Vikram Chandra, okay, Satish Chandra, sorry, Chandra's atmospheric composition explorer 2 payload on board the orbiter that has made the observation. Okay, now we will focus our discussion on Chase 2. Now Chase 2 was put on this Chandrayaan mission to study lunar atmosphere. Now remember, Moon's atmosphere is almost non-existent. It's very thin, yet there are some gaseous atoms there. Okay, now lunar atmosphere is also known as lunar exosphere. Now whatever atmosphere is there on Moon, that will be studied by this Chase 2. And the purpose of Chase 2 was also to study the impact of solar ejections, highly charged particles emitted by the sun, on Moon's atmosphere. That is why Chase 2 was put on Chandrayaan 2 mission. You understand? Now about Chase 2. So it is basically neutral gas mass spectrometer payload on board Chandrayaan 2 orbiter. What are neutral gas? Well, there are certain gases which are called inert gases, neutral gases. They do not react with any chemical atom molecule. Okay, they are inert. They do not react with anything. There is no chemical reaction. Some of the examples are argon, neon. Okay, there are so many inert gases. They are also called noble gases. You must have studied about them in your school. Okay, so these are also called neutral gases. So they would be studied by this Chase 2. Okay, so to study the composition and dynamics of Moon's extremely thin atmosphere known as lunar exosphere. Now this was launched on July 22nd, 2019 as part of Chandrayaan 2 mission. Chandrayaan 2 spacecraft was launched using GSLV Mark III rocket, also known as LVM-3. Okay, it is a successor to Chase 1. Okay, On Chandrayaan 1 mission also there was a chase, that was chase 1. So this is chase 2. And it is similar to another instrument put on Mangalyaan mission. Okay, Menka. Simple. Okay. Now some of the key features of chase. Well, what is the purpose? Analyze the chemical composition, spatial and temporal, space-based and time-based variation in the density of Moon's atmosphere. Though it is very thin, yet we want to study its density. Okay, across time also, in the past, now, future. That's what we mean by temporal. Another purpose is to detect water vapor. Is there water vapor? Is there water in its gaseous form in Moon's atmosphere? Because if there is, then there is a possibility that Moon also has water. Okay, and heavier molecules to understand lunar surface exosphere interactions. The interaction between Moon's surface and the atmosphere. Argon-40, another inert gas, noble gas, designed to detect noble gases like argon-40 and study their space distribution. Space weather, impact on Moon's atmosphere because of Sun's ejections. Sun ejects various energized particles, solar flares, coronal mass ejections. So you want to study the impact of these solar flares on Moon's atmosphere. So these are some of the key features. Now, recently, Chase 2 has given us certain observations. It has observed certain things and it has made certain path-breaking discoveries. What are those discoveries? Major discoveries. Exosphere pressure. So it recorded the first ever evidence of coronal mass ejection induced rise in lunar exosphere pressure. Basically, Moon's atmospheric pressure increased because of solar flare, coronal mass ejection. This was recorded for the first time by Chase. Then neutral gases. Observed a tenfold increase in total number density of neutral atoms, confirming long predicted theoretical models. Well, there were mathematical models that predicted that the density of these neutral gases would increase. That was confirmed by Chase 2. Okay. Then impact of solar weather. How solar weather or solar ejections impact Moon's atmosphere. So these were some of the 3 major discoveries by Chase 2. Nonetheless, what is important for you, especially for prelims, is to know about Chase 2. Okay, what is its purpose? On which mission, Moon mission was it? On which Moon mission was this scientific instrument placed? All these things. Okay, so this information is given in your notes. Go through that. All right. And now we will move on to our last news item, and that is International Maritime Organization, IMO, and carbon-free global shipping. Now, there is this international organization called International Maritime Organization. Basically, we all know that, well, we have to fight against climate change, right? And for that, we have to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Now, greenhouse gas is emitted by vehicles also, through cars, through aircrafts, also through ships. These ships basically burn fossil fuels and then they release greenhouse gases. Okay. Now, International Civil Aviation Organization basically created a framework to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from aircrafts. Similarly, International Maritime Organization also thought of a framework to reduce carbon emissions from ships. Okay. Now, this framework was about to start from this year or next year. But because of pressure from Donald Trump is against, he doesn't believe that climate change is real. Okay. He's against any action to save the climate. He says it is hoax. Anyway, any which way, we'll not get into that political matter. But because of American pressure, this action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from ships has been postponed by 1 year at the International Maritime Organization's convention. Okay, their meeting, summit. Clear? So this was in the news. So in this topic, we will talk about International Maritime Organization. What is it? What does it do? Okay, because questions can be asked. And we'll also talk about this carbon neutral framework that was about to be launched but has been postponed now. Clear? We'll talk about these 2 topics very quickly. So let's talk about that. Okay. So IMO and carbon-free global shipping. So what was in the news? Pressured by USA, member countries of IMO postponed a vote on a strategic plan to move the shipping industry away from the use of fossil fuels and become net zero carbon emissions, okay, by 2050. US pressurized and many countries did not vote and they say we'll vote after 1 year, basically postponing it. In April, a subcommittee of IMO approved a framework to bring in a new fuel standard so as to reduce carbon emissions. and a global pricing mechanism. Under this global pricing mechanism, the ships that emit a lot of carbon will be penalized, and the ships that have reduced their carbon, well, they would be rewarded. That was global pricing mechanism, basically a carbon credit like mechanism. You know about carbon credits. If you do not, well, we have discussed about this carbon credit mechanism in our previous lectures, but don't worry, if you haven't watched those previous lectures, we'll talk about that sometime in future as well. Right now, just remember, global pricing mechanism basically is there to penalize carbon emitters and reward carbon reducers. Okay. Now, let's talk about IMO. Okay, what is IMO? So it is a specialized agency of UN responsible for regulating international shipping. Simple. Okay, remember, it is a specialized agency of United Nations. It comes under UN. The purpose is ensure safety, security, and environmental performance of global maritime ships. Okay. It was created by a UN convention in 1948. The IMO came into force in 1958. Its current headquarters are in London, UK. Some more information with respect to its aims and objectives as far as IMO is concerned is given in your notes, so go through that as well. Okay. And we will quickly talk about this carbon-free shipping framework that has been postponed because of American pressure. Okay. The strategic plan under IMO's 2023 greenhouse gas strategy aimed at transitioning global maritime transport towards net zero by 2050. Okay. What were the objectives? Reduce carbon intensity by at least 40% by 2030 and reach net zero by 2050. Okay. For this, you have to use cleaner fuels. So a fuel standard would be set and all ships have to use that kind of fuel only. Okay. Then carbon pricing mechanism. Remember, carbon emitters would be penalized and carbon reducers would be rewarded financially. So these were some of the principles of this mechanism, but well, of no use now because it has been postponed by 1 year. Let's see if Donald Trump changes his mind or there's a global consensus among other member countries that we will not follow what America does and we will implement this strategic plan to reduce carbon emissions. Let's see what happens in future. By the way, do not forget to revise this topic from the notes and all the other topics as well. All right. With that, we conclude today's session. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. But it will add more value if you're consistent and regular with this lecture series and you revise this lecture from the notes provided by us. Do not forget to do that. And I shall see you next time with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.